Euromaxx highlights, coming up on the show. Summer fun. Euromaxx reporter Sharon Berghal tries out some trendy water sports. Lasting tribute. A new photo book features the complete works of Christo and Jeanne. Tasty treat. Take the edge off the summer heat with some mouth-watering Italian ice cream. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karen Helmstedt.
Hello there and welcome to our highlights show. And this past week, Germany's Ruhr Valley region marked its stint as European Capital of Culture with an event that will certainly be hard to match. On the weekend, they shut down a 60-kilometre stretch of the major highway that runs through the Ruhr area. And instead of the usual vehicle traffic, the lanes were filled with cyclists, skaters and pedestrians, all out to enjoy a day of local culture. Well, an amazing crowd showed up, such that the largest pedestrian zone in the world wasn't quite big enough. Here's more.
More than 3 million people took over the closed-off A40 motorway in Germany on Sunday. 3 times as many people as festival organizers expected on the 60-kilometer stretch between Duisburg and Dortmund. The hot weather didn't seem to bother professional and amateur dancers and musicians. It's not every day you see the salsa or carnival dances on the highway.
It's great. We're having a good time. We live here, really close to the A40. We were thrilled and just wanted to take part.
It's fantastic to see how many people showed up and where they came from and how many of them have bikes.
The A40 was full of people just an hour after the festival began. 1 million cyclists and inline skaters turned it into a huge jam, with people traffic as far as the eye could see.
We must secretly love traffic. Every morning we're stuck in traffic in our cars, and now on Sunday more traffic. We obviously need it.
The huge crowds of visitors were also treated to some unique types of transportation, like this bike from the year 1895.
We've gone about 20 or 25 kilometers already. We have to slow down a little because you can't go fast here. We'll see how far we get today.
Around 140,000 cars usually travel on the A40 every day. Some 3,000 helpers worked until early morning to set up the tables on the road. It was a logistical feat, 3 years in the making.
We had to think about how we would bring together people from 53 different cities, and that's how we came up with the idea to close off the A40 highway and set up tables. When I told experts what I wanted to do, they thought I was going crazy.
20,000 tables for 20,000 ideas, bringing together cultures and generations. Participating groups like this tabletop football one could start buying tables as early as last fall. The price, €25.
It's terrific. The game itself is fun and everyone is happy. This is such a huge event right in the middle of life on the A40.
The festival was designed to present a cross-section of everyday life in the Ruhr region. But it also showed off the best the former mining region has to offer.
I'm from Belarus, and I had such a great time. Everything here is really unusual and simply crazy. Just crazy.
After 8 hours, the long-distance party finally drew to a close. It was an experience that Ruhr residents aren't likely to forget anytime soon.
And when the temperatures reach sweltering here in Germany, one of the best places to be really is by the water. And because water is so much fun to play in, people are always coming up with new ways to enjoy it. So should you be tiring of the usual swimming and water skiing, there are some funky new water sports that are gaining a following around here. And our reporter Sharon Berkal decided to try some of them out.
Warnemünde on Germany's Baltic Sea coast is a favorite haunt for sun-seeking tourists and water sports enthusiasts. One kind of sport is becoming more and more popular this year: stand-up paddling. It has its origins among the fishermen of Polynesia and was developed further by surf instructors on Hawaii.
On a day like this, I personally would rather cherish sweet idleness. But no, I'm on a mission today. I'm going to check up on the latest trends in water sports, and we'll start right here in Warnemünde with stand-up paddling.
To do that, Daniel Weiss from the Supreme Surf School takes our reporter under his wing. But unfortunately, she has to carry her own surfboard, which is a lot bigger than a normal one. First of all, a dry run on the beach. It looks easy enough, but is it sport?
It's what's called a full body sport to get the whole body into shape. The movements are not very strenuous, and you can adjust it to the speed you want to paddle.
And then our reporter is in the water and trying to get on the board. She fails at the first attempt, but manages after Daniel advises her to watch the waves while clambering aboard. After managing to stay afloat for a few minutes, she begins to dream of a second career as a gondolier in Venice, until it all goes wrong.
Well, this was really the first time in my life that I was on a board like this, on the water. I'm quite proud of myself that I didn't make such a fool out of myself.
Our reporter believes that there's little chance of getting wet in her next test. It's possible to walk across a river in the city of Hanover inside a giant ball. The walking water balls originated in China. Our reporter says she feels a little unsure about the idea, even if organizer Arthur Kepa has everything firmly under control. But you aren't shut up in a big plastic ball every day.
The first time you'll probably fall onto your backside or back. You just have to get on with it. Get back up and run like a hamster.
The ball is zipped shut and pumped up. The 600 liters of air inside give enough oxygen for about 25 minutes. And then it's out onto the water, attached to a thin safety line.
You're holding tight, right? I'm standing.
She's standing. Or not. However much our reporter tries, she just can't manage to walk on water. Five minutes later, she gives up. The air inside the ball has reached 50 degrees Celsius, thanks to her breathing and the sun.
It's quite hot in here, but it feels much more secure than I would have thought from the outside. I think I didn't achieve more than water crawling today, because to really water walk, you have to have a lot of muscles and coordination in your body.
She'll need plenty of muscle power for her last stop at Lake Plauen.
Hallo Sharon.
So, what am I doing today with you?
Well, you signed up for some fun tubing today. There's one here. It's kind of a roller coaster, but on the water. You go left, you go right, and sometimes you jump over the wake. The way I maneuver the boat will determine how tough it is for you.
Empfindet sich das für dich auch radikal.
Our reporter would have been happy to just go for a ride in the motorboat. But by the time she pulls on her life vest, which also serves as padding, she knows she's in for some more work. Holger Brümmer starts very slowly and then gets faster and faster. The centrifugal forces working on the body grow ever stronger. Our reporter says she was too scared to let go, to try to climb up on the tube. She has to stage the last shot for the camera.
Let go of the fear and just go with the waves, then it's a roller coaster ride on the water and quite enjoyable.
To sum up the day, stand-up paddling is a real sport. Walking water balls are a real source of frustration. And tubing is the perfect entertainment for an afternoon at the lake.
It was a very pleasant day and very exciting. I figured out that you can do more in water than just bathing, and I also figured out that I have more muscles that can ache than I thought. That's why I think I deserve to do what I love best on a day like this: nothing.
Well, we are still busy, and up next we're off to the Bregenz Opera Festival on Lake Constance in Austria, where this year's production of Verdi's Aida is particularly action-packed, with lots of breakneck plunges and scenes played out at dizzying heights. But you might just wonder, how do the opera stars actually concentrate on hitting their notes while all the action is going on? Well, that's because professional stuntmen are there to take over the rough and tumble parts, and how they do that is quite a feat in itself.
Suspended 40 meters above the lake, these aren't the actual stars of the show, but stuntmen. So are these drowning priests. And these slaves who are being stoned to death. Matthias Schendel and his crew are professionals, and stunts like these are choreographed down to the last detail.
We've got 5 people all falling down the steps at exactly the same time. Obviously, it has to be done carefully to avoid everyone getting in each other's way. That means every stuntman needs to have a path cleared for them. That means no dancers getting in the way, for example. But it all has to look as dramatic as possible so that the audience really does think it's real.
Schendel and his team work closely with opera director Graham Vick.
The work of the stunts is very important in getting the most out of the lake and the circumstances that we have. They have an enormous independence, so I can be more daring in what I ask for and what I imagine.
Equipped with diving gear, Schendel is preparing for action underneath the main stage.
The next stunt we're going to do is in the court scene, when Radames takes a leap from up there. His double is Ziggy, and he really is going to jump into the water. Florian and I will be waiting under the jetty for him on the bottom of the lake. And as soon as Ziggy hits the water, we'll supply him with oxygen. Then we pull him out of the water at another part of the lake, precisely 1 minute and 10 seconds later.
Und dann kommt er nach exakt 1 Minute 10 Sekunden an der anderen Stelle raus, genauso wie es auf den Takt eben geplant ist.
One of the less demanding stunts for Aida involves a ride on a 7-meter-high elephant during the triumphal march. The crew usually works on Hollywood productions, shooting scenes that give even an experienced stuntman an adrenaline rush.
Before every stunt, there's a moment when you're completely alone. The cameras are a long way off, everyone's looking at you, and just for a second you're entirely alone. All you can hear is your heart. You have to get it exactly right and take that first step. Whether you're jumping off something, driving a car up a ramp, or getting pulled along by a steel cable.
In comparison, the death scenes in Aida are fairly harmless. Nonetheless, the opera brings its own set of challenges.
What makes it special is the fact it's all live, in front of an audience of 7,500. You have to be 100% in your timing. And on top of being spot on, you have to perform a stunt that blows everybody's socks off.
An opera as action-packed as a Hollywood blockbuster. Thanks to Matthias Schendel and his team, that's what's on show on the Bregenz Festival's floating stage.
15 years ago, people in Berlin stood mesmerized before the unusual sight that you can see projected behind me. That's the Reichstag building wrapped up like a parcel. It was the work of American artists Christo and Jeanne, whose fantastic large-scale environmental installations earned them worldwide fame. Working alongside them since 1971 has been German photographer Wolfgang Volz, who has now published a monumental book about the famous couple.
The works of Christo and Jeanne, including the gates in New York Central Park, the wrapped trees in Ruhr, Switzerland, the surrounded islands in Florida, and the wrapped Reichstag in Berlin. Wolfgang Volz photographed them all. The exclusive images have been featured in exhibitions, like here in a chapel in southern France.
In 1969, I saw pictures of Christo and Jean-Claude's wrapped coastline in Australia. I was absolutely fascinated that someone could wrap such a huge thing as a coast with fabric, just like that, for fun, simply to create something beautiful. And the idea of accompanying that as a photographer was a source of great fascination. And it still is today, 40 years later.
Volz has now published a photo book to mark Christo's 75th birthday this year.
What's special about the book is that it's the first to cover all these works. Plus there's the format and the weight.
The book weighs 15 kilos. It also contains personal photos of the artist couple Christo and Jean-Claude. Pictures that only Wolfgang Volz could take. He accompanied the couple on projects on all 5 continents.
My work with Christo and Jean-Claude was really like working in a family. We were very close together. For example, here in Abu Dhabi, where for a project we tried to get to know the Arab world and hiked through the desert. We learned about the Arabian Nights.
For Wolfgang Volz, the most important joint project was the wrapping of the Reichstag in Berlin in June 1995. It involved 100,000 square meters of fabric. In the winter of 1998, Christo and Jean-Claude wrapped 178 trees in Ruhr, a suburb of Basel, Switzerland. The transparent polyester fabric was not just artfully draped, it was also intended to symbolically protect the bare trees. Wolfgang Volz is especially proud of the project because he had a special task.
I
was not only technical director and photographer, but also the tailor, so to speak. I designed the cuts myself. I had to measure the trees and determine whether they were 25 or 30 meters high, and how much they grow in between the time measuring them and when they were actually wrapped.
The trio worked closely together until November 2009, when Jean-Claude died. Wolfgang Volz still stages exhibitions in remembrance of their collaborations. He's currently working with Christo on projects that Jean-Claude helped initiate. One of them is the Mastaba in Abu Dhabi. A truncated pyramid of 410,000 oil barrels is to be erected in the middle of the desert. One of Jean-Claude's last wishes, was that mastaba not remain merely a sketch.
If it were possible to send her a present beyond the grave, the best thing would be a photo of the mastaba in Abu Dhabi when it's finally finished.
Negotiations on building the mastaba are still ongoing. The illustrated book, simply called 75, provides a foretaste of that project, as well as a comprehensive retrospective of the works of Christo and Jeanne-Claude.
And finally, Italian ice cream is famous all over the world as the best of its genre. But two young men from Turin decided they wanted to be sure the distinction was theirs alone. Well, now, judging by the success their ice cream parlours are enjoying, they might just be onto something. Even the international press is full of praise, and so we thought it was high time for us to check it out.
This is perhaps the best ice cream in the world. Grom has been very popular in Turin for several years. This is partly due to the ice cream maker's motto. They want to make old-fashioned ice cream with a natural taste. That includes using traditional steel containers, which keep the ice cream at just the right temperature.
So it's to try to make the best gelato of the world. To do that, our philosophy is very simple: to buy best raw materials and to manage agriculture when it's possible, as well as not using any kind of aroma, any kind of chemical additive into the gelato.
Grom focuses on carefully selected natural ingredients from special regions. And the ice cream sells well, although it is a bit more expensive than the competition at €2.50 for a small cone.
It's very creamy, it's never frozen too hard, and I like the variety of flavors.
It's always fresh. Wherever I go, I'll stop if there's a Grom shop.
Guido Martinetti and Federico Grom have been growing their own fruit for 2 years near Asti in northern Italy. They follow strict organic criteria.
Following our dream to make the best gelato of the world, we needed to make our own farm, to make fruit with quality and not in quantities. So the idea is to make the best qualities possible and without following the idea to make the major quantities possible per hectare.
The fresh ingredients are turned into finished ice cream mixtures in Turin and then sent out to all the different shops. The disadvantages of long distances and centralized production are outweighed by guaranteed quality.
Because I cannot have different materials in New York, Turin, or Milan or Tokyo. And I work them here, then I send the liquid gelato to every shop, and then the gelato is whipped fresh every day in every shop. So this to manage quality.
The liquid mixture is fed into an ice machine in the individual shops. Only solids like chocolate are added separately, like bits of cookies for the best-selling Crema di Grom. It all started 7 years ago in this small ice cream parlor in Turin. 4 years later, Grom arrived in New York's Greenwich Village. Today, the businessmen from Turin run 48 shops on 3 continents, most of them in Italy. The ice cream menu changes every month. The current specialty, creamy ice cream with Amarena cherries. The flavors on offer always depend on the season.
For example, now we have peach, melon and apricots that we cultivate in our farm too, and we only have in this season. In winter we do not have peach or melon, we have mandarin or we have pears or apples.
Turin's gourmet expert Gigi Padovani has known Grom from the beginning. In his opinion, the company has started a trend in Italy.
Not everyone in Italy loves this ice cream. People are used to mama's flavors or homemade desserts. And for this reason, it's taken some time for this type of quality ice cream and the different way it's enjoyed to become accepted and enjoyed by everyone.
Guido Martinetti develops the recipe for each flavor himself. And he doesn't mind sharing them.
To make a beautiful peach sorbet at home, you take 250 grams of peaches, 130 of water and 120 of sugar. You mix them together, and when you have the mix, you put in the gelato machine and you whip. That's it.
It sounds simple, but it's clearly not something anyone could do. If it were, Grom's ice cream would not be as popular as it is.
And before we go, just a quick reminder that you can watch our Euromaxx highlights again on our website. And with that, that's all we've got time for this time. From all of us here in Berlin, thanks very much for watching, and bye-bye.